It was a cold, gloomy morning. The city buzzed with the usual hustle, cars honking, people rushing to their jobs, and delivery trucks whizzing by. In the middle of it all was Maya, a young girl no more than 17, struggling to make ends meet. Life had never been easy for her. She had learned to live with little, finding joy in the smallest things. Maya's home was a rundown tiny apartment, far from luxurious, but to her it was everything. Every day she would step out in her worn-out shoes, ready to face whatever challenges the day had to offer. On the other side of the city, a delivery man named Arif quietly did his rounds. He was an odd figure in the neighborhood. No one liked him much. He had a rough appearance, always dressed in a worn cap. His clothes faded from the sun. People often talked behind his back, calling him names, assuming he was just another man who couldn't make anything out of his life. He'd been delivering packages for months now, and no one had bothered to ask his story. They just saw him as someone who brought parcels, ignored him, and sometimes even treated him poorly. Maya had seen Arif a few times during her morning walks, always wondering about him. Why did people avoid him? Why did he seem so distant? Like he carried a weight no one else could see. She felt a strange connection to him, maybe because she knew what it was like to be invisible, to be judged without a second thought. One particularly dreary afternoon, Maya was coming home from work, carrying a bag of groceries she could barely afford. As she walked past an alley near her building, she saw Arif sitting against the wall, holding his head in his hands. His delivery van was parked nearby, its door wide open, with packages scattered all over. It was clear something had gone terribly wrong. Hesitating for a moment, Maya glanced around, hoping someone else would notice. But as usual, no one paid any attention to the delivery man. Maya's heart pounded. She wasn't one to involve herself in other people's problems, but something about the scene tugged at her. Before she knew it, her feet were moving toward him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly, her voice filled with concern. Arif looked up, his tired eyes meeting hers. He was silent for a moment, clearly not expecting anyone to care. I lost some of the packages. I think someone stole them while I was making a delivery. My boss is going to kill me," he said, his voice thick with anxiety. Maya frowned. She knew all too well what it felt like to be at the edge of losing everything. "Maybe I can help," she said, surprising herself. She didn't have much, but what she did have was kindness. And right now, it felt like the only thing that could make a difference. Arif shook his head, standing up and brushing off his clothes. "No, you don't understand. It's more complicated than that. This job, it's all I've got." Maya sensed there was more to his story than he was letting on, but she didn't push. "At least let me help you look. Maybe we can find the missing packages," she offered. Together, they began searching the alley, checking nearby streets and asking a few shopkeepers if they had seen anything suspicious. Hours passed, and as evening approached, their search felt more hopeless. Yet through it all, Maya refused to give up. She wasn't sure why she was so determined to help him. Maybe it was because she saw a bit of herself in him, someone who just needed a break, someone who had been let down by the world one too many times. As the last traces of sunlight disappeared, Arif finally turned to her, his face softening in a way Maya hadn't seen before. "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly. "You don't even know me." Maya shrugged, giving him a small smile. "Maybe because I know what it's like to be alone when you need help the most." Arif didn't say anything, but the look in his eyes told her everything. For the first time, he wasn't just a delivery man to her. He was someone who had his own struggles, his own battles, just like everyone else. Maya knew then that she had made the right choice by helping him, even if it didn't seem like much. Little did she know, Arif wasn't just any delivery man. Beneath the ragged clothes and tired demeanor was a man who held a secret that could change everything. Arif was, in fact, the hidden CEO of the very company Maya had ordered from so many times. For months, he had been working in disguise, trying to understand the flaws in his company, hoping to fix things from the ground up. But Maya was unaware of this truth. To her, he was just a man in need, and she was just trying to do the right thing. As they walked back toward Maya's apartment, exhausted, but still hopeful, Arif's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression shifting, but he quickly shoved it back into his pocket. Something had happened, something big, but he wasn't ready to reveal it yet. Not now, not to her. Maya noticed the change in his demeanor, but didn't ask. She was too tired to push for answers. And besides, it wasn't her business, or so she thought. The evening air grew colder as they stood outside Maya's building. "Thank you for helping me," Arif said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't shown up today." Maya smiled, a warm, genuine smile that seemed to light up the dreary street. "It's nothing, just don't give up, okay? Things always get better." Arif nodded, but deep down, he knew things were about to get far more complicated than either of them could imagine. The missing packages, his secret identity, and now this unexpected bond with Maya. Everything was spiraling out of control, and the truth was bound to come out soon. But not tonight. For now, Maya remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. And Arif? He was left standing in the shadows, wondering how much longer he could keep his secret from the girl who had unknowingly saved him from more than just a bad day. The night closed in, but this was only the beginning. As the days passed, Maya and Arif found themselves crossing paths more often. Maya would run into him on her way home or see him delivering packages in the neighborhood. What started as a brief, accidental encounter turned into something deeper. They began talking more, and Arif started to open up a little. He never shared much about his personal life, but Maya could sense there was something about him that he wasn't telling her. She didn't pry, respecting his privacy, but the curiosity lingered. Maya's life continued as usual. Long shifts at her part-time job, struggling to pay rent, and dreaming of something better. She wanted to go to college, to escape the never-ending cycle of financial hardship. But those dreams always felt out of reach. Her encounter with Arif had reminded her that everyone was fighting their own battles. But it also made her realize that helping others, even in small ways, gave her a sense of purpose. Arif, meanwhile, was wrestling with his own dilemma. His secret weighed heavily on him. The CEO of a major company, hiding in plain sight as a delivery man, was not a situation anyone could imagine. When he had taken on this undercover role, it was to understand the flaws in his company's delivery system. The board of directors didn't know, the employees had no idea, and Arif had planned to keep it that way until he gathered enough insight to fix the issues from within. But now, after meeting Maya, things had taken an unexpected turn. Maya's kindness had touched him in a way he hadn't anticipated. In his world, people only saw him for his wealth and power. But Maya had seen him at his lowest, not knowing his real identity, and still chose to help. He hadn't experienced that kind of genuine compassion in a long time, and it stirred something within him. One evening, as they sat on a bench near the park, after one of Maya's long shifts, she finally asked the question that had been on her mind for weeks. "Arif, why do you keep to yourself so much? I mean, you've been delivering here for months, but no one knows anything about you. It's like you're hiding." Arif tensed, his heart racing. This was the moment he had been dreading, the moment someone would start to question him. But Maya wasn't like the others. She wasn't looking for gossip or trying to judge him. She was genuinely curious. And for the first time, Arif felt the urge to tell someone the truth. He hesitated, looking down at his hands. It's complicated, Maya. There's a lot about me that I'm not ready to share. Maya nodded, sensing his discomfort. I get it. We all have things we'd rather keep to ourselves. But if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Arif gave her a small, grateful smile. Thanks. I appreciate that. Despite his reluctance to reveal his true identity, Arif couldn't help but feel drawn to Maya. She was different from anyone he had ever met. Honest, sincere, and full of hope despite her struggles. He found himself wanting to help her, to make her life better in any way he could. But how could he do that without revealing who he really was? Meanwhile, Maya's own life was becoming more difficult. Her landlord had given her a notice. The rent was going up again. She didn't know how she was going to afford it. The pressure was mounting, and no matter how hard she worked, it never seemed like enough. She felt trapped, and the more time she spent with Arif, the more she wished she could be as carefree as he appeared to be. Little did she know, Arif's world was far more complicated than she imagined. One night, Maya sat in her apartment, staring at the notice from her landlord. She was running out of options. Maybe it was time to move back to her village, give up on the dreams she had for herself. But just as she was about to give in to despair, there was a knock at the door. It was Arif, standing there with a hesitant smile, holding a small package. I thought you might like this, he said, handing it to her. Maya opened the box to find a simple, elegant bracelet. She looked up at him, confused. Arif, I can't accept this. It's too much. Arif shook his head. It's nothing. Just a small token of appreciation for everything you've done. Maya was touched, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this gesture than he was letting on. I appreciate it, really. But why? Why are you being so kind to me? Arif sighed, his eyes meeting hers. Because you're one of the few people who've been kind to me without expecting anything in return. Maya felt her heart ache at his words. She didn't understand what he was going through, but she knew there was more to Arif than met the eye. She wanted to help him, just as he had helped her in small ways. But before she could say anything, Arif's phone buzzed again. An urgent call from his office. He stepped aside to take the call, his voice low and tense. Maya couldn't hear what he was saying, but she could see the stress in his expression. Something was wrong, something big. When he returned, he looked shaken. I have to go, he said abruptly, his voice strained. There's something I need to take care of. Maya wanted to ask him what was going on, but before she could, he was already walking away. She watched him disappear into the night, a sense of unease settling over her. Something was happening, something that involved Arif's mysterious life outside of their simple conversations. As Maya stood there, holding the bracelet in her hands, she couldn't help but wonder, who was Arif really, and what was he hiding from her? The truth was on the verge of being revealed, and Maya's life was about to change in ways she never expected. As the days went by, Maya couldn't stop thinking about Arif. His sudden departure that night had left her with more questions than answers. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something big he was hiding, something that could change everything. But she respected his privacy, even though a part of her was dying to know the truth. Meanwhile, Arif was facing a crisis at his company. A major delivery error had caused chaos, and the board of directors was furious. As the hidden CEO, Arif knew that this was his chance to step in, but he was torn. Revealing his identity now, after getting so close to Maya and the other workers, felt like a betrayal. They had known him as a simple delivery man, not the wealthy and powerful CEO who could change their lives in an instant. One evening, Maya was working late at the cafe when she heard a familiar voice. She turned around to see Arif standing in the doorway, looking more serious than she had ever seen him. "Maya, we need to talk," he said, his voice low. Maya's heart raced. She knew this was it. The moment everything would come to light. She wiped her hands on her apron and led him to a quiet corner of the cafe. "What's going on, Arif? You've been acting strange ever since that night." Arif took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning." Maya frowned, her mind racing. "What do you mean?" "I'm not who you think I am," Arif said quietly. "I'm the CEO of the company I work for, the company I deliver for." Maya blinked, trying to process what he had just said. "Wait, what? You're the CEO?" Arif nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "Yes. I went undercover to understand the problems with our delivery system, to see what our employees go through, and to fix it from the inside. But I never expected to meet someone like you." Maya was stunned. She sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. Everything made sense now. His reluctance to open up, the expensive bracelet, the mysterious phone calls. But it was hard to believe that the man she had grown to care about was actually the CEO of a massive company. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked softly, her voice filled with confusion. "I didn't want to lie to you," Arif said, "but I also didn't want you to treat me any differently. You were kind to me when you thought I was just a delivery man. You helped me without knowing who I really was. And that meant everything to me." Maya didn't know what to say. She felt a mix of emotions, confusion, betrayal, and something else she couldn't quite put into words. "I don't know what to think, Arif. This is a lot to take in." "I know," Arif said, his voice soft. "And I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I wanted to be honest with you. Finally. I don't want to hide anymore." Maya looked at him, trying to see the man she had come to know beneath the title of CEO. And slowly, she realized that the Arif she had grown close to was still there. The kind, thoughtful man who had helped her in small ways, the one who had shared quiet moments with her. "Okay," she said after a long pause. "I need time to process all of this, but I appreciate you telling me the truth." Arif nodded, a small smile of relief crossing his face. "Take all the time you need. I didn't want to lose you because of a lie." Over the next few weeks, Maya thought a lot about Arif's revelation. It was strange knowing that the man she had grown close to was a CEO, someone with power and influence. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that it didn't change who he was as a person. He had always been kind, always cared about her and the people around him. One afternoon, as she walked home from work, she saw Arif delivering packages again. He looked up and saw her, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Still doing deliveries?" Maya asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," Arif said with a chuckle. "Old habits die hard. Plus, I still have some things to fix in the system." Maya smiled. "Well, I'm glad you're still the same Arif, even if you are a CEO." Arif looked at her, his expression softening. "Does that mean you're not mad at me anymore?" Maya shrugged, playfully. "I'm still deciding, but for now, I'm just glad you're here." They stood there for a moment, the tension between them finally easing. The truth had come out, and while it had shaken things up, it hadn't destroyed their connection. In fact, it had made it stronger. As they walked together through the busy streets, Maya realized that sometimes people weren't who they seemed at first glance. But that didn't mean they weren't worth knowing. Arif had hidden a big part of his life, but in the end, He had chosen to be honest with her, and that was what mattered most. With Arif by her side, Maya felt a sense of hope for the future. She didn't know where their relationship would go from here, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like anything was possible.